Hey North Carolina DECA, it's Kayla Spear, Coastal Region Vice President, and in this Toybox leadership video, I will be talking all about these little green army men and the leadership lessons that they can teach you. This lesson is broken down into 5 parts known as the 5 checkpoints. The 5 checkpoints are a great tool to use to find success in the setup and strategy phase. These checkpoints include the checkpoint of involvement, assessment, placement, development, and refinement. For the checkpoint of involvement, you're checking your involvement as well as your team members. Make sure that you're just as involved as the people that you are working with. As a leader, it is important that your point of view is the same as your team members. Everyone has different strengths, weaknesses, and work rates. Make sure that you're checking up with your team members and asking for feedback so that you know that you are using those to your advantage. The checkpoint of assessment is all about taking the time to step back and assess where your team is now, where you want to go, and what it will take to get you there. The process to set up the Little Green Army Men is actually very similar to a SWOT analysis. As a reminder, a SWOT analysis is the analysis of a group's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strategy of setting up the Little Green Army Men involves analysis and planning through 3 types of counting. Counting the troops, the types, and the time. Counting the troops is counting inventory. This counting is checking how many people you have. Make sure that the amount of people that you have is proportional to the task at hand. Counting the types is quality inventory. What are your team's capabilities? Sometimes there is more talent in your team than you are aware of. Find those talents and challenge them. Use those talents to your success by having your team members work within their passions and strengths. A place that your team could start is by taking the DECA Styles assessment to find your leadership styles at decastyles.org. Counting the time is the final type of counting. This is a chronological inventory. Make sure that time for planning is a priority. Backwards planning is a very useful time principle. Backwards planning allows you to catch a glimpse of what success looks like each step of the way. When using backwards planning, you simply start at the end and work back to where you are now. It is extremely important as a leader to make sure that you allow enough time for planning. When managing time, look for approaching windows of opportunity, block periods of time to evaluate your progress, and dedicate most of the time you have allowed to a task for preparation. The checkpoint of placement involves the positioning of people. This consists of 3 parts: the who, the where, and the when of positioning. The who of positioning is all about the talent that is needed. Assess the abilities and personalities of your team to make sure that you have the right people in the right place. The where of positioning is determining the placement of people. Make sure that you use your team's strengths to your advantage. The when of positioning is determining the time that people are needed. If results are necessary, timing is truly everything. Knowing your people is of key importance in the checkpoint of placement. When you sufficiently practice the checkpoint of placement, it allows your plans to move fluidly, precisely, and efficiently. Now onto the checkpoint of development. Once all of your members are counted and in the right place at the right time, the task can be executed. There are 3 criteria that will distinguish the trivial from the important, influence your plan, and cause adjustments prior to implementation. The first is practice rehearsals. Go through the motions with your team. Implementation should never be the first time that your team has gone through the motions of a task. The second is proactive policy making. Through intuitive leadership, you can set policies in place to help your team understand what is expected of them. Encourage creativity and productivity in your policies. Policies should anticipate problems, not react to them. The final criteria is plan contingencies. Contingency planning reduces the stress of obstacles and problems by giving people options. Use contingency planning for short-term plans, not long-term goals. The checkpoint of refinement is commonly referred to in the military as an after-action review. This can be used by your chapter or team after an event or the launch of an idea or campaign. Refinement is an important step that is often left out of planning. Refining is improving something by the removal or addition of something else. If you're trying to include the refinement checkpoint in your team's planning, give your team members permission to critique the process. After an event, sit down with those involved and evaluate your team's performance. What went well and what can improve next time? Army men are rather simple, but the principles that they teach are profound. I hope that you enjoyed this leadership lesson. If you're interested in finding out more information on this leadership lesson or the other leadership lessons that we were talking about, check out this Toybox leadership book. NC DECA, let's rise up and take this year to the next level.